Welcome back to Morning Joy, where truth matters. I'm Keith Downey, your host, and our next guest, whose creative journey combines faith, storytelling, and imagination. Joining us this morning is Philip Kosloski, the visionary behind Voyage Comics and Publishing. And what really, truly sets him and the organization apart is their ability to weave Catholic values into graphic novels and comic books. He also invites all readers of all ages to embark on adventures that resonate with the soul. Good morning, and welcome to the show, Philip.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now, Philip, as the creator of Voyage Comics, you've done a really wonderful job of blending faith and storytelling. Can you maybe share with us what inspired you to start this venture and what led you to create like Catholic, essentially graphic novels and comic books?
Sure. Yeah. So about 7 years ago, I just started to kind of be nudged, I guess, in the way of wanting to present the faith in kind of an entertaining story. And I can't always know exactly how I got onto comic books per se, but I guess I felt drawn to how they are very visual, and I wanted to make something beautiful that kind of captivated your attention and just kind of brought you into the story. And so I really felt drawn to create just an entertaining story with kind of Catholic values underneath.
Yeah, and the unfortunate part today is a lot of the the secular comic books that have now an agenda, and there's a lot of woke stuff in them, and you can't really open them up now without having to see some of that. But it's amazing, yeah, the artwork in general, and it's just, it really is, these graphic novels and comic books really are a piece of artwork. And one specifically, your series Finian and the Seven Mountains certainly has garnered a lot of attention. What is the inspiration behind this series and the themes it explores?
Sure. Yeah. So Finian is actually kind of the first series that we ever created. And initially, it kind of just started as just one comic book before we had kind of a vision to create a series. And kind of what started it all, oddly enough, was Star Wars. So at the time, Force Awakens came out, and there was this island that they featured off the coast of Ireland that they kind of put the kind of a Jedi, associated it with the Jedi, and in reality it's a real island, and on that island are ruins of this old Christian monastery, and so I kind of just got captivated by the idea of presenting this real island and kind of merging kind of spiritual warfare kind of mixed in with the story, and kind of showing, kind of weaving together this kind of story that blended history and medieval myths and legends to kind of highlight kind of the spiritual battle that is around us.
Wow, it's so cool. And leagues beyond better than the sequels there, for sure. But you're listening to Morning Joy, where truth matters. I'm Keith Downey, your host, and we're talking with CEO, founder of Voyage Comics and Publishing. In a world that's pretty much saturated with secular entertainment, how do you approach creating this content that reflects Catholic values without being preachy, I guess? What's the balance you aim for?
Sure. So kind of one of my main inspirations kind of throughout my life, but also in this particular apostolate, is J.R.R. Tolkien and his creation of the Lord of the Rings series. And so really kind of I take him as kind of the model for what I'm trying to do in the sense of, I'm writing these comics kind of from my Catholic faith and with a Catholic worldview, and just trying to, again, not, it's, generally what we write is not like kind of hitting your head with the Bible,
right.
But just just showing kind of heroic characters who actually do the good thing and kind of live up to kind of what we all want to strive for. And yeah, I mean, it's amazing how you don't have to be so kind of forceful in a story. You can be very subtle in how you present the Catholic faith.
Yeah, it reminds me of, I don't know if you've watched much of the Rings of Power, the Amazon, I don't know if you call it a prequel. I guess we call it a prequel to kind of the Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit. But would you say they're being almost, I guess, would you say that it's almost too subtle? Like, I mean, there are some elements of like the Catholic faith, but I don't know if it's almost too subtle. What are your thoughts on that, on the idea of that?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's from a modern point of view, it's kind of difficult to create stories that are consistent with the Catholic faith. I mean, kind of one of the central pillars is that there is good and that there is evil, and that can kind of often get lost in kind of modern storytelling. And then, like, I mean, especially nowadays with the various superhero movies, we've kind of turned more towards the anti-hero, like wanting to see the bad guy do bad things for somewhat of a good intention.
Right.
And so that's kind of a hard thing too, because the kind of the whole idea that the ends justify the means is kind of very prevalent in our culture, and that's something kind of in storytelling you kind of have to work against, knowing that the ends don't justify the means, and so you can't do bad things to create a good end.
Right. It reminds me of seeing the orc family in the Rings of Power. It's like, I don't know about this. Anyways, you mentioned superheroes. How do you see Catholic saints as a different kind of superhero, and how does Voyage Comics celebrates their heroic lives?
Yeah, so besides some of our other comics, which are, kind of fantasy or superhero focused, we also like to focus on various saints or men and women who are kind of on the road to canonization. And yeah, I'm really attracted to a lot of these, saints, because when you look at their lives, many of them led, similar lives to us. And they kind of show us that, in a certain sense, we can be heroes as well in our own lives. We may not have to, travel across the world to, preach the gospel in distant lands, but we can, be Christ in our own family, in our own workplace. And really today it's becoming increasingly heroic to do even just that, to be faithful to Christ. And so, we hope that by making more of these comics kind of on the saints as well, that it'll inspire kind of the next generation, show them that, yes, it is possible. These people live lives of holiness, and that we can do that as well.
That's so true. Now, you have like a visual interpretation of Story of a Soul. How does that translate to the graphic novel format?
Well, and I guess just to clarify, so that particular new project we're working on, it's actually just the traditional autobiography, but what we've done is we've supplemented it with a few kind of illustrations that kind of highlight some of her spiritual truths.
Got it. That's very cool. And then you said that's coming out soon?
Yeah, so hopefully by the end of October.
Ooh, exciting. We'll have to keep an eye out for that. Story of a Soul. You also are a publisher, right? So it's very interesting because there is a connection here. Now you published the Catholic Cartoon Collection by Joshua Masterson, who we actually had on the show months ago. I think like right after that went live. How do you go about publishing some of these works from Catholic, whether they're artists or writers?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I guess a lot of how we've kind of operate is a lot of, I guess, through kind of divine providence, you could say. So, you know, in a lot of the things we do, we don't necessarily seek out people or artists, but people come to us. And when we see, you know, a product or a book that really kind of resonates with our audience and with our kind of mission, that we just find it to kind of, you know, kind of be in harmony with what we're doing. And, you know, we want to kind of grow our business and invite other authors and artists as well to kind of tell their story and to inspire others as well.
Lastly, before we end here, what advice do you have for aspiring Catholic storytellers and artists who really want to make something really meaningful and that impacts, you know, our faith and hearts?
Sure. I mean, first of all, you know, just, you know, pray, have a deep life of prayer, because that can really kind of help form you, even if what you're doing isn't necessarily Catholic or Christian. It can help inform what you're doing. And then secondly, just, I guess, just do it. So, you know, for me as a writer, you know, I didn't really see the gift of writing that I've been given until I started just writing, and just, you know, be receptive to the feedback that you receive. And, you know, because then you can grow as a writer or an artist.
Oh, gosh, thank you. I can't thank you enough for joining us, Philip. Thank you so much for joining us on Morning Joy. Really appreciate it. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more truth and joy. God bless, and make it a joyful day.